434. That's how many days until Star Wars Celebration next year. So hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is like another tag video where a good YouTuber, a good friend of my buddy Simon, Dave Munns, tagged me to do with this Star Wars. He basically wants to know from our least favourite to our favourite film. So I'm going to try and get this under 15 minutes. I have a funny feeling this is going to run over because he kind of wants to know our good points and our bad points about the movies. So in rock bottom is Attack of the Clones. Now I had to think about this, whether I put Phantom Menace down the bottom or whether I put Attack of the Clones down the bottom. And I had to put Attack of the Clones at the bottom. There's not that many good pieces about this film, in my opinion. Obviously you have the big Jedi battle. This is the first time we see Yoda wield a lightsaber and jump around and things like that, but it's all the hokey dialogue of, you know, if Obi-Wan saw me using the Force like this, he'd be very cross. So just like, well, he wouldn't get cross because he's a Jedi and Jedi shouldn't get angry and shouldn't get cross, blah blah blah. And you know, he says something to do with, you know, like, you're always in my dreams. And if you were to say that to a woman now, you'd probably get punched in the face going like, I dream about you all the time, but boof. But just certain dialogue and certain things, you know, like, I slaughtered the my animals, I hate them, and just different things like that. It's not a film that I can really watch. The only thing I kind of like about it is that we see the origin of the clones. Whenever Obi-Wan goes to Kamino and Master Sifo Dyas was killed almost 10 years ago. But yeah, just that would be why it's bottom. And above that, in 5th place, is the Phantom Menace. Now, the only thing that has going over I know it has more Jar Jar than it does in the 2nd and the 3rd one, would be the Podrace, which, as Dave says, kind of does get a little bit, it's a bit long-winded after a while. And obviously the lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. And then we see like the Gungans versus the droids, which is kind of very much like Ewoks versus the Empire from Return of the Jedi. Even whenever Jar Jar swings the thing around and hits him in the face, it's like Wicket, but it's not as funny because Wicket's more bearable, but no pun intended there, because he doesn't speak, and whereas Jar Jar does, and Jar Jar's just annoying. I don't think he has too many fans around the Star Wars community. I know there's some people like him, some people don't. But I would have preferred it in the prequels that we had a running villain apart from Palpatine. You know, like obviously we had Darth Maul, we had Dooku, then we had Grievous, you know, so I would have preferred it if it was Darth Maul all the way through, like Vader. You know, Vader has a presence I've not felt since you know, Vader was in all the films, you know, and I would have preferred it to be, you know, like the company, whether it be Grievous, whether it be Darth Maul. I think all of them were really criminally underused, and you could have had a lot more going on with them than you actually did. But that's one thing that harms the prequels, right? So that's Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace. Number 4 is New Hope. Obviously this is the one that gets us all started. We're introduced to the characters, you know, this is the first time many of us, I don't know if all of us watched episode 4, 5, then 6, you know. It's very much like in the Rocky films, you know, like we watch Rocky 3 or 4 before we watch the first or second one, because I know I probably watched my favourite film before I watched this one. So a lot of people would have worked backwards, but obviously this is where we get introduced to the lightsabers, the blasters, the aliens, the Millennium Falcon, the awesomeness that is Han Solo, the awesomeness that is Darth Vader. It's hard to think of something that A New Hope doesn't really do right, because you get introduced to the characters, but it's not rushed and it's not forced, no pun intended again. I think it would just be a case of with certain things, I'm trying to think, but I can't really think. Can't really think of much that there's, like obviously we got the Death Star battle, which is fantastic, and things like that. But yeah, I can't really think of a lot of things that it does wrong, to be honest with you. I think it would just be a case of, um, no, I honestly can't think of anything at the minute. I'm just home from work and I thought I'd get this done. So, right, above A New Hope is Empire Strikes Back. Now, I know a lot of people will have this as their favourite, but like, oh my god, what are you doing? What is your favourite Star Wars film if it's not Empire Strikes Back? Empire Strikes Back is great. Like obviously it's the darker one of the three original ones. I think it's safe to say. Yoda is an integral part of that film, and you have a lot of things going on. We have Luke with Yoda, and then you have Han and Leia and Chewie with Lando, and then you have all the stuff going with 3PO, and then you have Boba Fett coming into it. I've never been a big Boba Fett fan, but that's beside the point. Obviously, you have the start of it on Hoth, which is just brilliant, and how many times you wanted to play that in a video game where you went around the legs and things like that. But Empire is just a really, really solid film, and I think it's just a case of in Dagobah. Sometimes it's a case of, could we not have maybe had that, sooner in the film? Like if Hoth, if he was kind of, went to the Dagobah system, or was kind of condensed, that kind of thing, because we didn't really get to see an awful lot of Yoda. That's another thing I forgot to say about the Phantom Menace, was in the original cut of it that the Yoda puppet was a lot worse than the ones that they used 30 years prior, which always makes me laugh. But yeah, so Empire Strikes Back is a great film, and some of the iconic lines, "I love you, I know," but it's the kind of tampering with it. I don't like the fact that they've taken out Jeremy Bullock's voice of Boba Fett from it and things like that, and obviously you see the Wampa holding his arm that Luke cuts off. But these are films that I can sit down and watch at any time. But number 2 would be Revenge of the Sith. I gotta admit that I did get a bit teary-eyed, even my voice, whenever I watched it in the cinema, and whenever Obi-Wan gave Luke to Beru, and Beru walked over to where Lars was, and you saw the suns, and it was kind of similar to how Luke started his journey, and like this was going to be, just where they were standing and stuff. I was kind of thinking, I'm not going to see a Star Wars film ever again in the cinema, and this year I am. But one of the things that this has going for it, and all I'm do, but this is by far my favourite, is the soundtrack. The Anakin's betrayal, his dream, even the closing credits, whenever Leia goes with Bail Organa, and she will be loved with them, and things like that. But the music is just unbelievable. Obviously the fight sequences are brilliant between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you have Yoda and the Emperor, and you have so many different things going on. But just obviously that's the most complex lightsaber fight that we've had at the time of recording this. But yeah, obviously all the loose ends, we get from your father wanted you to have this one day when you were old enough, and your uncle wouldn't allow it, and to I saw your father burn and say I hate you, but I'm going to say this instead so what I said to you was true from a certain point of view. Yes. So, there's certain like little nooks and crannies that you see, obviously, whenever Yoda hasn't killed the Emperor, into exile he must go, and then the Wookiees and things like that, and you're thinking, how come Yoda and Chewbacca never saw each other again, things like that, but that always made me laugh as well. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith is just, obviously it's by far the best of the prequels, and it's very close to my number 1 pick, which is Return of the Jedi. And a lot of people go like, oh my god, why? It's got Ewoks in it and stuff like that. You can't really argue whenever your earliest memory is sitting in the cinema with your father watching this film. I still, to this day, remember sitting in the cinema laughing at the Ewok on the speeder bike spinning around. I was 5, so cut me some slack. I always watched this whenever I was a kid as well. I always loved the Jabba the Hutt opening part, very much like in Empire, like a lot of people love Hoth and what's not to love. But with the Jabba the Hutt stuff, like you had the Sarlacc, you had Han Solo and Carbonite, which, like he comes out of. You have 3PO acting just a complete idiot, as he normally does. And then obviously we get to go into Yoda, and Yoda passes away because as strong as he with the Force, but not that strong. But yeah, it's just a case of it's just one of those films that again I could just put on. I love the fact that again we have the Death Star, we have Lando back behind the Millennium Falcon, which is class, and then obviously we have Han down the bunker in Endor. We have Luke facing his destiny with his father and trying not to turn to the dark side. Obviously, this has been tampered with the likes of the musical number, the no, things like that that aren't really that necessary. And one of these days, I'll have to sit down and watch the lesser quality Star Wars, like the unaltered version of it. Because I own them on DVD. There was like a limited edition one that came out that had 2 discs, and you got the Laserdisc version of it, and you got like the special edition version of it. So I would like to try and watch it without the special features and stuff like that. Obviously in Star Wars we have Jabba the Hutt, and then he walks around on the tail because Jabba the Hutt was a guy in a fur coat. And then obviously they digitized him, put him into it, and then we see Boba Fett, and then things like that. But yeah, so it goes Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, what's that other one? Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. So there you go. If you're a Star Wars fan, why not participate in this? I would love the likes of, I would love Millie to talk about what she thinks of Star Wars since she just started watching it. I love Rob and Nico because obviously JC the Comic Geek, props to you, sir, for sending them Star Wars comics. So I'd love to know, guys, what your favourite what your favourite Star Wars movies are. Mike Lacey, I'm talking to you as well. And Mark Newton 89, I'm talking to you as well. So you 3 guys have been tagged. I'd love to know what your favourite Star Wars movies are, and you must include the prequels in this. So yes, thanks Dave for checking me out on that. I will be meeting Dave and Simon next year at Star Wars Celebration. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you very much for watching. May the Force be with you, and until next time.